Hey guys, today's lesson is on system of equations word problems. What we're going to do is write a system of two equations in order to solve for our answer. In problem number 1, our first equation is going to represent the sum of two numbers is 19. The way we're going to represent that is x plus y equals 19. Since I don't know either of the numbers, I'm going to use two different variables to represent each of those numbers. The second sentence is the difference of the same two numbers is 1. That's going to be our second equation. Since the variables I used in the first equation were x and y, I need to use the same for the second equation and show that the difference of them would be 1. Now that I made my system, I'm going to now solve it using either the substitution method or elimination method to solve for the numbers. In this case, I think the easiest would be to use the elimination method. As I could see, I could add the two equations, all the like terms line up, in order to eliminate the y values to get 2x equals 20. And if I divide 2 on both sides, I know that x is going to equal 10. So I already have one of my numbers. In order to solve for y, I'm going to plug that into one of the equations and solve for my second number. I'm going to plug it into our first equation, x plus y equals 19. I know x is 10, so I know 10 plus y is equal to 19. And subtracting 10 both sides would give me y equals 9. The word problem is asking us for the two numbers that have a sum of 19 and a difference of 1. Double check yourself and ask yourself, is 10 plus 9 equal to 19 or 10 minus 9 equal to 1? That both checks out. So this answer won't be an ordered pair since it's a word problem. We could just write the two numbers are 10 and 9. I'm going to go ahead and jump to now number 4, allowing you guys some practice with 2, 3, and 5. In problem number 4, they're saying that the sum of the calories of a pumpkin-flavored donut and a small coffee from Dunkin' is 980 calories. The next sentence is going to be our next equation. The coffee has 250 less calories than twice the donut. They want us to write a system using the variables c for coffee and d for donut to find the amount of calories for each. So what we're going to do is break this down and use the first sentence to write our first equation. The sum of the calories of the donut and the coffee is 890. So we're going to say the donut, I'm going to use D, plus the coffee equals 890 calories. Let's now use the second sentence to make our second equation. The coffee has 250 less calories than twice the donut. So in that sentence, it says the coffee has. So I know that the coffee is equal to 250 less than twice the donut. How am I going to represent that? Well, twice the donut would be 2D, and 250 calories less than that would be minus 250. Now that I have both of my equations, we could use either the elimination method or the substitution method to solve. You could actually pick either of these. If you wanted to use the elimination method, however, we needed to line up the like terms. So you could subtract the 2D in the second equation to make sure that the donuts and the coffee line up. But since the second equation is already solved for C, I'm going to use the substitution method by taking what C is equal to and substituting it into the first equation. Again, it doesn't matter which method you use, but since it's already set up for substitution, I'm going to use that. So we would get D plus 2D minus 250 equals 890. Simplifying that, we're left with just the variable D. D plus 2D is going to give us 3D minus 250 equals 890. And in order to solve for D, I'm going to add the 250 on both sides. So 890 plus 250 is going to give us 1,140. And then we would end up dividing that by 3 to get the donut has 380 calories. We can now use this to find how many calories the coffee has by substituting this into one of the equations. I'm going to substitute it into the first one. So the donuts plus the coffee is 890. So I now know that 380 plus the coffee is 890. And in order to solve for the calories that the coffee has, we would do 890 and subtract 380, getting 510. Since this is a word problem, we're not going to write our answer in an ordered pair. You would write a sentence saying that the coffee has 510 calories and the donut has 380 calories. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is pause the video, try number 2, 3, and 5 on your own. Once you get the answer, play the video back for a description of how to solve. In problem number 2, the first sentence is the difference of two numbers is 7, so that would be represented by x minus y is 7. The second sentence is going to give us our second equation. It says twice the first number is. The word is represents equal sign. Twice the first number is going to be 2x. Is means equal sign. And how am I going to represent 3 more than the second? That would be y plus 3. Remember, you got to keep these in order since in the first equation, x was my first number and y was my second. That has to stay the same for the second equation. You could use either elimination or substitution. In this case, I would actually use elimination here, especially since if I subtract y on both sides, we would get the two equations x minus y equals 7, 2x minus y equals 3, and what I would do was subtract. So I would get negative x, these would eliminate, equals 4, or x equals negative 4. I would then plug it into one of the original equations to get our answer. The two numbers are negative 11 and negative 4. Remember, you could always double check each other and double check your answers and make sure that the difference is 7 and that twice the first number is 3 more than the second. In number 3, it tells us the sum of the two numbers is 35. So that would be represented as x plus y is 35. And the second sentence says the second number I used for the first equation is y, so I have to use the second number for the second equation is y as well. Y is equal to 5 less than the first, so that would be y equals x minus 5. This is already set up for an easy substitution in which you would take what y equals in the second problem and substitute it into the first, getting x plus x minus 5 equals 35. If you used elimination instead, that is completely fine. We should end up with the same answers. Substitution-wise, we would get 2x minus 5 is 35. Solving that would give us x is 20, and then plugging it back into one of the equations would give us y is 15, and your answer could simply be the two numbers are 15 and 20. In the last problem, number 5, it says Liz bought bagels and coffee for herself and her friends at Bagel Boy. The next sentence tells you what each of them costs and what the total cost of breakfast was. So the first equation I'm going to write has to deal with all the money. At the end of the problem, it asked us to use B for bagels and C for coffee. So it was $2.50 per bagel plus $2 per coffee, and she spent $35 total on breakfast. Notice that entire equation all had to do with the money. The next piece of information was that she bought 15 items. If she bought bagels and coffee and she bought 15 items altogether, the second equation would be B plus C equals 15. In this case, either substitution or elimination would work. If you wanted to use elimination, you would multiply the second one by 2 and then subtract in order to solve for B. And if you wanted to use substitution, I would have solved either for B or C in the second equation and substituted into the first. This one might have needed a little bit of calculator work only because it had $2.50 for the price of the bagels, which is fine. In the end, you should get 10 bagels and 5 coffees. Please let me know if you had a question on any of these problems, and I will talk to you guys soon.